Hi, I want to briefly talk with you about the symbolic interactionist perspective on deviance. Okay, once again, what is symbolic interactionism? It's the use of symbols to define relationships from a social interaction standpoint. It's things such as perception, stereotypes, personal space, imagery, or assumptions about how things ought to be done. Okay. Now, there are different theories to explain deviance from a symbolic interactionist standpoint, and I want to go through those briefly. Okay, the first is Edward Sutherland. He came up with the differential association theory. He says that people learn to either deviate or conform to societal norms through the different groups to which we belong. Groups with whom we associate could be family and friends, neighbors and subcultures. Secondly, delinquents are more likely to come from families who get into trouble with the law. Thirdly, delinquency tends to be clustered in certain neighborhoods. There was a study done by Ruth Horowitz of Chicanos in Chicago, a Chicago neighborhood, and highlighted the honor among certain groups. The protection factor might lead to deviance. And fifth, lastly, would be people have a choice about which group to join, which can either lead to or away from deviance. Let me ask you this. How many of you have began in a certain group or thought you were going to be friends or liked a certain group of people, and then they did something that you're like, whoa, I don't think I can embrace this. I'm going to leave this group. Or perhaps it's, wow, I like the way they do that. I'm going to join this group. Okay, so I like that they take a stance against X, Y, or Z. So the differential association theory says it's the people with whom we associate. And then, if you want to break it down into different sociological studies, with whom do we have a choice who we associate with? And how does that impact our ability to either deviate, violate a norm, or conform to a norm? Secondly, control theory. Walter Reckless. He said there are two control systems that work against people's inclinations to deviate. The inner control is our internalized morality. This is going to sound similar to what Sigmund Freud said about the id, the ego, and the superego. And this would be similar to the superego, that internalized consciousness. Religious principles, ideas of what's right and wrong, those are our inner controls. I shouldn't do this. I'm supposed to do X, Y, or Z. Outer controls are other significant people in our lives, family, friends, police who influence us not to deviate. The outer controls. Think about a time in which you succumb to peer pressure. You know, the inner control, the outer control. Which one was kind of winning? Did you say, no, I'm not going to do that? Or did you say, well, let me just see, just think about that. Walter Reckless says the stronger one's bond with society, the more effective the inner control is going to be, because you want to appear and uphold what society projects as being good and right. And lastly, the key to learning higher levels of social control is socialization. Remember, socialization is the process by which we learn characteristics of our group, especially in childhood. Parents help their children develop self-control by supervising them, perhaps punishing them for their deviant acts. I think I told you, my cousins and I got together for Thanksgiving. I'm an only child, but raised in a fourth-generational house, and so we were the youngest generation. And we got together, and we were reminiscing about the times we got in trouble and laughed. And then we, we teased like my mom or whoever was a disciplinarian, my dad. And my mom, she's like, look at you now. You guys are all doing okay. Kind of like in hindsight, perhaps we appreciate the discipline, but it's made us who we are in terms of even our choices of whether to conform or deviate from norms. Okay. Lastly, labeling theory. Think about the story with the saints and roughnecks. According to the spirit theory, people are assigned labels, names, and reputations that become part of their self-concept, which in turn channels them toward conforming or deviant behaviors. We try to resist negative labels placed on us. 5 techniques for neutralizing. Here you go. Denial of responsibility. Oh, I'm not responsible for this because so-and-so did X, Y, or Z. Think about Someone who hit somebody, rear end someone, but it's because they stopped at the red light or stopped on yellow. Think about it. It's not the person who hit them's fault, okay? Denial of responsibility. Secondly, denial of injury. Nobody really got hurt. It's okay. I mean, I know I didn't like dry the floor properly, but nobody got hurt. Denial of injury. Because you don't, what are you really trying to neutralize? You're trying to neutralize the perception of you as irresponsible. And I'm not saying this, I'm just saying it hypothetically. You know, let's say somebody did slip because the floor in the kitchen wasn't dry. Nobody really wants to label, I'm irresponsible. No. Well, you know, I'm sorry I didn't dry it, but, you know, nobody played off. Nobody got hurt. Thirdly, denial of victim. The person deserved what he or she got. Okay. The fourth one, condemnation of the condemners. Condemnation of the condemners. Who are these people to judge? You can't judge. You're not perfect. So what? I did X, Y, or Z. But look, you do X, Y, or Z too. So who are you to judge? And then lastly, appealing to a higher loyalty. I had to stick up for my family. I had to stick up for my little brother. Stick up for my little sister. Okay. Those are the ways in which we try to neutralize labels placed on us based on times in which we perhaps make some mistakes in life. Secondly, some people they really enjoy being called deviant. You know, outlaw bikers, rebellious teenagers. Is there a time when you really didn't want to conform and you kind of embrace? I kind of like that I'm not like doing what everybody else is doing. That's self-expression. Okay. Thirdly, William Chambliss, The Study of Saints and Roughnecks, really does illustrate how labels can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The labels placed on the roughnecks, and look at their career paths and choices. Labels placed on the saints, and look at how even though they were violating more norms, being more deviant, they manipulated those reputations and were able to excel and go far in life. Okay, that's symbolic interactionism in a nutshell. Thank you. See you soon.